And today, folks, we're talking about skills benchmark. We're talking about future-proofing your workforce. I'm only going to say this once because we don't do too many promotions. It is sponsored by Skillsoft. So thanks, for the sponsorship from Skillsoft. But the whole sort of spirit of the collab, and this is the flow of the session, is very much, it's a gift. And it's a gift for LRMG to our clients, to our internal LRMG folks. You know, we ask you to grab a cup of coffee if you really want to grab a glass of wine. But, you know, the spirit is to be here for the next hour and learn and be part of the learning and the sharing, because that's what the intention is. Off the back of that, so Mike's going to take us through some Skillsoft global context and insights. Something that we want to bring into these collabs is the role that LRMG play in engaging with the clients up front to really understand the ask, you know, what we heard you say. So Mike's going to take us through that. And then Michael and Judy are going to kick into the case study. And yeah, just having had a look at the stats, it's unbelievable. So super excited. Can't wait for the case study, and let's kick on into that. So Mike, yeah, with no further ado, last sort of bit of housekeeping. We love engagement. Judy and Michael love very difficult questions, so please knock yourselves out and go ahead. And questions, comments, emojis, and gifts are appreciated. And we are recording the session. If you want a recording, please reach out to Nadine and Michael and the team. And with that, Mr. Wanjelani, over to you and Mark Ones.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Linda. Thank you for the welcome. And I am so humbled on a 4 o'clock Wednesday afternoon that we have got 50 individuals online. We're really looking forward that the session is engaging, enlightening, and inspiring. I know as Michael Peters works on the ability for individuals to put cameras on and chat, I'm just going to echo that you feel free to come on. This is our session where we can collaborate as professionals around the topic. And, you know, without further ado, you know, while the economic outlook for 2023 is uncertain, the pervasive demand for skills remains very, very clear. So what I've got up on here are just a few quotes from chiefs and leaders in the industry. And, you know, when we think of the notion of digital learning, you know, it's taking shape like no other time in history. When we look at workforce transformation during these uncertain economic times, the topic of skills and reskilling and upskilling has just never been more relevant. If I'm just going to, you know, just look at the first comment over there from our dear friend Josh, you know, the first thing to expect in 2023 is more volatility. As we exit the pandemic and industries continue to merge, every company feels threatened by some disruptor. And, you know, the need to digitally evolve and transform, you know, will continue to be a main focus. And, you know, when I start thinking about the folk who historically were mandated to deal with things like transformation, and that, you know, it's typically been the technology and transformation officers and the rest. And L&D is really needing to have to step up to the plate in terms of leading those efforts. And, you know, just one more comment there, you know, what we're seeing more and more from our customers is that they're trying to be a lot more agile, you know, so they're looking at things that are coming up in the business at scale in months, you know, versus years. And, you know, I see that Omri Yari is online. You know, there's always a quote from Jack Welch that I remember him sharing. And, you know, it's an organization's ability to learn and translate that learning into action rapidly is the ultimate competitive advantage. So if you can get your organization to learn and translate that, the operative word being rapidly, that's where the secret, you know, really lies. Lynn's on to the next.
Yeah. No pressure on the mouse clicker.
So what we've got up here is just a few stats from the World Economic Forum. And the data doesn't lie. And out of the survey that they've done, and you'll see, Mark Onesk, who's at the top over there, is Skillsoft's Chief Content Officer. He actually sits on the board of the report that gets extracted around the World Economic Forum. And the two questions that they asked is, over the next 5 years, where do you see the growth roles? And you can actually see the top 10 roles that are listed over there. Very, you could say, digital data, cybersecurity related. The second interesting question that they asked is, what are the top 10 skills that you're going to feel are going to be needed, in these roles? And, what you can see from those top 10 skills is that the skills that are needed are human skills. They're power skills. Out of those 9 or 10, it's stress tolerance and flexibility and reasoning. And those are really going to be the skills that we're going to need to transform as a collective. Thanks, Linda. All right, so this is a point of view from Skillsoft, and more than looking at this as a waterfall structure, think of it as a process of a continuous cycle, that happens. And when Skillsoft looks at skill transformation, this is the framework, and it's saying, firstly, how do you prioritize skills? How do you develop skills, and how do you ultimately, transform them in your environment? So the first thing is having a skills taxonomy, so firstly, identifying what are the skills that are going to be required for an organization to deliver on their strategy. And in most instances, we get examples that, organizations want to move specific work processes to the cloud. They want to maybe migrate a customer base, onto a digital motion. But, once you've identified what skills are required, what's really interesting is that you now have the opportunity to benchmark your skills. So what Skillsoft has done is that they've got these skills benchmarks across 600 domains. And what this really allows you to do is direct employees to relevant learning and skill development. So now it's not learning for learning's sake. These benchmarks are useful. And typically what you see is that it's not necessarily that organizations are not benchmarking employees. It's just that perhaps in the past, this sits outside of a platform. So now you've actually got this integrated. You've got the assessment capability integrated, and L&D is no longer having to stitch it together. Step 3 is now the skills development part, and being able to direct employees to the right learning program. So historically, identifying the skills that you have, being able to assess your employees and direct them is something that organizations have been doing for a while. I think the hard part comes into the last 3 elements. How do you maintain that skill engagement, skill transfer, and skill analytics? And when you're talking about skill engagement, what the digital content platform allows you to do is credentialize employees by offering badges. So employees no longer have to ask, where do I go next? Everyone who actually completes 35 minutes of courseware, gets a badge, and those can be stacked, dependent on, the types of roles and skills that you're wanting to build. And then skill transfer. We have to ensure that skills actually transfer back into the job. And this is where you've got the opportunities for cohort-based learning, these practice labs that are available in a live environment, and then digital coaching, which is available. And then, lastly, if we're saying, how do you start speaking business language? It comes back to the data. What is the skills analytics saying? How do we actually analyze all of this information that's coming up, for us to make sense of it? And, through the skills analytics, it has the ability for you to start seeing, how are my skills shifting and moving and being developed? So you've actually got, before and after scores from a skills benchmark perspective. So Linda, I think in the interest of time, just thought to
I'm going to skip to here, Mark.
Yeah, let's now pivot. Judy, just before I bring your voice in, I know as LRMG, we're quite meticulous in really trying to understand, what is the strategy? What is it that you're wanting to hire from a solution? And at a high level, I've got some of those in bold. The mandate, or what we heard the BPO Skills Academy team say, is that we need access to micro learning anywhere, anytime, on any device. It's got to be digital. And you can see over there, it really allows for engaging all of the senses. I can read a book, I can watch a video, I can listen to an audio summary, I can actually go into a live environment and practice. And when you start looking at, the science of learning, something that really comes out strongly in the Percipio platform. We need to be able to deploy skills assessments and gauge and baseline where our employees are at from a start. And that's something that the solution was able to do. LRMG, this is a complex project with multiple stakeholders. And, we need these learner journeys to incorporate some third-party content. And, once again, we need to learn to live in an ecosystem, and the platform allowed for that to happen. When we're saying access to world-class digital content, it's about reskilling, upskilling, multi-skilling employees. And, at a high level, once again, you can see the power skills that were needing to be built there. Contributing to a learning culture, being able for this to be on a digital platform where it can be easily assigned. You can get automated reminders out to your learners so they know exactly what it needs to be completed. And most importantly, right in the middle, we need to be able to have analytics and reporting.
Boom, boom, boom.
What is going to be ROI to business at the end of this?
Yeah. Brilliant. Thanks, Mark.
So Judy, I know that we're going to, transition into a couple of your slides, but for the audience that we've got online, really just keen to understand what, with regards to the case study, what was the context of the requirement? Why and how did this need actually arise?
Okay, great. Sorry, I'm just sending a quick note to say I think I've joined as a guest and not a presenter, so I don't have the sharing rights. If you could just give me that quickly, and then I'll be all good. So, all right. So hi everybody, and yeah, that was amazing. When Michael depicts what he heard, he's underestimating how much of a great listener he was, because that's exactly really what we were asking for, and possibly even more. So just to give you the context, as soon as I can share, there we go. Thank you so much. Pull this across. Okay, so the context really, if I pop in there, was
just a little bit bigger, Jude.
Okay, cool. Let me just put it on slideshow for us.
Yeah, put it on slideshow. Oh, there we go. Yeah, there we go. Cool.
Perfect.
Thanks.
So to take one step back, this project was really commenced by a very strong collaboration from a sector-led vision. And one of the benefits and strengths of the BPO sector in the current economy is that it is one that is fast growing in its economic impact, as well as its, its attractiveness to global clients. So it's one industry that can attract young people, that can upskill young people, and they can employ them in a scalable manner. And the challenge for us was, how do we take this particular sector with a focus and a lens on financial services and create a innovative model of learning and employment, whereby we are ticking the boxes on all of the existing challenges that most of us face when trying to meet all of these objectives in one. And so FinExcel was born, a KPPO bank seater innovation in learning that was designed and implemented by the BPO Skills Academy, and the collaboration of best-in-class vendors, training or learning partners, which you'll see at the top of our screen here, and I'll go through each of those. So the context really was, how do we approach the seaters, who are our key custodians of, should I say, accredited and formal learning, as a partner in how do we innovate learning in a way whereby we can get 500 young people speed to competence, quickly upskilled in both accredited learning unit standards as well as industry-specific agile skills within a 6-month period, so that we don't lose that opportunity to place 500 young people in jobs and scale from there. So it was almost a flip. I call it the hero flips, in that we had the opportunities, but we didn't have the skills, and we needed to get them quickly to be able to create that ecosystem. And that was the context. So the KPPO, together with its partners, approached the bank SETA in terms of the application to do something differently, as a pilot, to see how we could, re-engineer the way in which we upskill relevant skills in the best way possible to fit an immediate job and sector growth need in a way that will provide really good, viable employment opportunities and career growth for our youth. And we did a pilot for 500 young people in the Western Cape region. So why a financial skills accelerator for the BPO sector, or business process outsourcing sector? Really, it's as I've mentioned, the fastest growing priority economic sector, providing our ability to target youth unemployment in South Africa. Our growth trajectory is an enabler of employment opportunities, and to create sustainable financial service careers roles. And hence, this landscape became an enabler to design something with impact. The critical element of this, just for the last context comment, Michael, is that it is a collaborative focus, and that was collaborative from sector, employer, SETA, training partner, learning system point of view. I think many of us who've been in this world of learning for many years will know that none of us can do this on our own. And with the speed and rapidity and need and critical priority to get this right, we had to take a collaborative focus, and that included the BPO Skills Academy, the partnership with LRMG for the backbone of the Percipio platform, Wellfox Color Accounting to create the financial literacy for young people going into the world of financial services for the first time, and then the South African Accounting Academy, who brought to the table all of the financial services compliance. So that was really the context for the solution build, Michael.
Wow, Judy, a complex project, and also a pioneering project from what I hear. It's greenfields. It's being able to shoot some bullets, at this and really test it. Some multiple stakeholders that you've got to satisfy over here. Judy, when you start thinking of the strategy over here, what was the strategy to now deliver against this context?
Okay, so because this was a really high level sector and social impact project, we did develop an extensive theory of change, which drove our strategy. And really our key focus was to contribute to the elimination of unemployment in South Africa. And this sector is particularly, as represented by KPPO on the call, with whom I've worked with for many years, has always had the vision of contributing to this, knowing that our sector could particularly address this in a very strategic manner. So we decided that we would take this on courageously and innovatively, and do it through developing a highly skilled talent pipeline in the financial services and services sector. We wanted them to, however, articulate into lifelong learning opportunities and, most importantly, jobs. We weren't interested in running yet another learning program. KPP and its partners were very specific around the fact that this program started with learning and ended with employment and ongoing employment. and providing critical workplace skills for these young people to engage them, keep them, and provide them with career growth. And then, of course, for the sector and the employer to grow through their skills advantage and success. So that was really the strategy, and of that goal, following that goal, or the ways in which we were going to implement that goal, or are implementing that goal, should I say, was set out in 5 core objectives. That's to provide an accredited financial services accelerator program because of the credibility and the value of the accreditation, and that was provided by the BPO Skills Academy. To establish targeted training and skills development opportunities for emerging financial services professionals, and that was targeted in terms of the skills program integrated with the WealthVox color accounting financial literacy program, integrated with a very good understanding of the critical compliance environment and regulatory examination preparation. And then all of this really very much supported by the digital learning opportunities and content of Precipio. So it was a great collaboration that created a great value chain. We were going to create, or we are creating and have created, relevant banking and financial services regulatory compliance modules offered by the accredited South African Accounting Academy, leading in this area. And then we were very specific on ensuring the job creation for 500 young people in the sector.
Yeah, Judy, once again, it's a tall order, to execute on. When you look at the strategy and what it was that you were trying to achieve here. I am going to in a moment put Damien and Michael Mann online if they'll oblige us and if they're comfortable. I know in terms of formulation of that strategy and driving it, you gentlemen were instrumental to that, and we're going to definitely invite your voices in. Judy, strategy formulation is one thing, and we always hear it. Culture is going to eat your strategy for breakfast. I'm sure there's a culture that existed over here, but what were the considerations in terms of operationalizing the strategy and really making this project come to life?
Thanks, Michael. I think any of us on the call in the world of learning know how difficult it is to operationalize a blended learning program in one employer, or in one workplace. This was targeted at giving a large number of our sector employers an opportunity to engage in the project and to co-create it. So we had to deliver this project across 9 different employers, including 9 different workplaces and 2 to 3 different training venues. The project management and delivery complexity was enormous. We needed to have a blended model whereby we could run a program at scale for 500 young people across different organizations. And each organization really wanted to tailor certain elements of the 6-month journey to be fit for purpose for their environment, because we had employers that ranged from captive contact centers in major insurance organizations in South Africa to outsourced sales and service centers servicing global clients. And although all needed the same core basic skills that we'd really significantly, or should I say, rigorously consulted the sector on, there were certain nuances that they wanted. Every business had its own rhythm. Every business had its own idea of whether to do the full skills program up front or to split it up and incorporate work integrated learning within. And so in our attempt to make sure that we had the best uptake and support from our employers, we did target and tailor it quite a lot. So that created quite a project management complexity. We had a lot of stakeholder consultation, a lot of relationship building. I think without that, right from the Damien and the Michael's initial engagement with clients to Jackie and team's exceptional detailed project management, we would not have been able to manage this. It's a new approach. It included formal learning, CETA requirements reporting. It included non-formal learning. It included 4 or 5 different systems and vendors. So that was quite challenging. The sourcing of talent was also a bit of a challenge. Different organizations wanted different levels and nature of qualifications. At the first instance, we pegged it on graduates. Graduates, in some instances, absolutely excelled, and non-graduates in other instances absolutely excelled. So it was very much dependent on the learning and the work environment and context. And then, any funded program or any co-funded program where there's rigorous operational and reporting requirements and is difficult to manage. So the critical elements that the likes of a Percipio platform enabled us to do is to track and to report and to have the data and to have the analytics, to measure the start point and the end point of competence and the gap closures. All of which were critical for the purposes of closing those loops, and also to give the learners and the employees who needed to remain engaged timely and updated feedback on how they were doing. The structuring of the curricula was interesting, and we needed to have, I think you mentioned earlier, that benchmark approach whereby we could personalize and target learning, because we had 500 young people all at different levels of entry and skill across 9 organizations with different requirements. So we had to be able to have a tool as flexible and a team as flexible as that to support us. So the cost effectiveness was critical in that we couldn't have that infrastructure requirement with pure contact face-to-face learning. It would not have been financially viable no matter who the providers were. So the blend of online self-study, self-directed 4-hour platform learning with high impact face-to-face and coaching really worked well from a efficiency as well as quality and impact point of view. So yeah, those were some of the small complexities.
To name but a few, Judy, what I hear, and perhaps I am going to invite Michael Mann and Damien. Mike, I know just right up in the beginning in terms of just creating the journeys. I don't know if you've got any commentary that you've got for us.
Certainly don't want to steal any thunder from Judy. That's why we asked her to represent us this afternoon. No, definitely. I think, guys, and I see some comments on the chat as well, the combination of wanting to be specific, meet certain skill requirements of individual organizations is always difficult on scale. So just having 9 participants in this business meant there were 9 different chefs at the table. And whilst I agree, I think, Judy, we got a great feedback on getting that core right. I'm always self-critical. There's work to be done. There's still ways to find a way for organizations to engage these programs and still allow for that self-learning journey and those specifics. So, yeah, but I mean, it's been a great journey. It's a great success. There's been some awesome feedback. We're already looking at how to continue with the program and to find the next version thereof. But again, I don't want to take away anything from the next hour, so I'm going to keep it very short.
Michael, thank you. Thank you for that rich contribution. I think the operative words is scalable and blended. We've got to have it digital and some of it face to face. What is a solution that accommodates that? Judy, I know we're just about to perhaps get into some of the data. We spoke about the importance of data and data analytics. If you were just to think about what that has enabled for your business, having access to real-time data on progress on how your skills are progressing, what has that enabled in your space?
So it's invaluable, and because we had different learning partners and different systems, it was really important for us to have one central point where we could track the improvement of competence or the shift of proficiency, because although the benchmarks were Percipio led, all of the learning that was done was content related. So it could all be assessed in terms of those benchmarks, in terms of the integrated learning. So what it meant for us was the ability to manage large cohorts across a large number of employers because of the ability to manage, to structure the learning as cohorts, employer by employer, even group by group within an employer, even to the point where we could allocate a line manager to a group of learners and then do an analysis of which line manager's group was struggling or not struggling, and if that had something to do with a leadership or management style. Because what we did find in this project was that the learner support within the workplace was a critical element of success. And where there was a learning environment, they absolutely flew, and where there wasn't, we had some challenges. So it gave us insights beyond the learning insights. It gave us project-based insights. It enabled us to give timeous and almost daily, if we wanted, feedback to our learners and to our employers and to our funders and to our stakeholders. So we could, at a push of a button, generate a report on request, which was significant. And as anybody who's worked in these environments know, that when you are reporting on a funded or a partnered intervention, that's critical for your next tranche of support to flow. So it helped the cogs going on the team, and it facilitated that ongoing ROI in terms of and progress. So we do have a monitoring and evaluation arm on this project. And we do hope to present a case study post this session in the next month or two. And the data available has spoken very much to that. So yeah, besides reporting capability, the engagement of learners, their ability to see how they're doing, often in a really hectic work integrated learning environment, and then the monthly engagements with employers on how are my learners doing. The data could enable us to have informed conversations in those sessions.
That's just amazing, Judy. You know what I'm hearing come out quite strongly is this audience management, having 9 audiences that, if I had wanted to zone into a specific one and go and figure out what the progress was, that I was able to do that. The ability for the data to get the line manager engagement. We know in a lot of learning initiatives, a lot of the breakdown is at a line manager level. You've got the strategy, but line managers have got the strategy and the daily operational requirements that they're needing to deal with. So getting that buy-in up front and using data to get them to buy into the process, useful. The insights that you said it gave to the project as a whole. So it's great to get the learning data on, what skills are being developed, but, how does it inform how I then engage with the rest of my stakeholders? How does it allow me to pivot and most importantly, pick up risks early on into the project? Linda.
Yeah.
Just checking you're going to show us the data.
Yes. I think we got a couple of slides of data.
There we go.
So one of the trends, just a quick one that I didn't want to forget, is that what we found was the learners did explore quite significantly beyond their mandatory or allocated learning topics. And that was interesting because it gives us really good insight into what engages them and what skills they felt that they needed. And they were all relevant skills to what they were doing. So when we regroup for continuous improvement on our content provision, we will definitely take that into account. So yeah, just some great stats.
If I could just maybe jump in here, because it's something that and I'm looking at the chats and the peeps on the call as well. You said people explore beyond the mandated topics. A lot of frustration I have with clients at the moment is, if you are no, and this is your role, this is what you must learn. And what we're not cognizant of is that people have career aspirations. They want to learn outside of their realm. They want to grow. And we need to, as L&D, move away from this notion that people need to learn what we think they must learn, versus, give them anything and let them go and learn what they need to learn, as long as they're doing their job, So I'm loving that. I'm going to use that quote with one of our favorite clients at the moment.
No, it's great. If you want to have them engaged, it's got to be for them. It's got to be for them, and if it's for them, you've got to have access to what they want to consume, and that's what these kinds of platforms do enable. Yeah, and they surprise you. They absolutely surprise you.
Beyond.
Yeah. You know, we don't know where they come from or what level of interest or capability. And sometimes you have people sitting in the room that you are blown away with when you understand what the interest or capacity is.
Yeah.
So it really does help shine some stars there. So we have an 80% completion rate, which is amazing.
Okay. No, it's
Yay.
okay.
Okay. But that's made up of, I think, a few factors. So one is definitely there were certain elements that we made mandatory for them to complete, but there were also the way it was managed, in that there was project support on the ground for them, and it was relevant. It was relevant to what they needed to learn in a day and what they needed to apply. And that's the feedback we've had directly from the learners. They have been extensively. We've had focus group interviews from learners. We've had employer feedback. So some of the insights I'm talking about, or feedback I'm talking about now, has already been documented in the interim M&E report. So it does speak to the stats. So if we just have a look in terms of the number of assets engaged, we had an average of 74 learning assets per user, which is much higher than the average of 6. We had 15,539 asset completions, an average of 60 learning assets completed per engaged learner, against an average of 4 course completions per engaged learner. And then we did, this is amazing, 5,398 hours spent learning, an average of 21 hours spent learning per engaged user, against an average of 6 hours per learner and engaged user. And that for me is spectacular, in that the average recommended per annum is 25 in a corporate. So this is pretty great stuff. So against your benchmark clients, I think the project has done really, really well.
It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal, world class.
Yeah, just splendid, Judy. I know the next slide actually goes into, you know, some of what business would be wanting to hear when we talk about return on investment. And you know, this is LRMG's point of view on measuring impact. And you can see it's a funnel. So right at the top, you know, we want to be able to take a look at, you know, who's been accessing the platform, what is it that they're actually accessing, and registrations versus completions, to the slide that Judy had up. The motivation for learning, you know, Linda said it, it's one thing for it to be mandatory learning, but what is that voluntary learning that individuals are going to register for? We can really learn some good data and get some insights on career paths that individuals would want to have outside of their role. So just things like times that people are registering, and there was a slide, we'll go back to the survey feedback in a moment. But the reaction and recommendation, I think we've got a slide up there that's got an NPS you know, score that's yeah. And you know, the platform allows in the flow, once I've completed a course, that I can actually go in and rate the quality of it. And you know, the two kickers on this slide, quite a bit of information. Firstly is the NPS score. Anyone who's not familiar with the Net Promoter Score, just know that 30 is a good score. And you know, BPO Skills having achieved 46, quite extraordinary. If you look at the Net Promoter Score, yeah, you're needing to get 9s and 10s, you know, to get that type of rating. But on the second pie chart over there, you know, going forward, how likely are you to apply what you've learned in the course to your job? And I think for L&D professionals, that's what you're looking for. How is this translating, converting the learning into practical application into the workplace? And we can see, you know, over 90% of BPO Skills Academy learners, you know, said that they're practically able to apply this in the learning. Judy, I know we've got a couple more slides that maybe you wanted to talk to.
Okay, just to comment on that, I think what's really important is to is to understand that there was months of research and planning and curricular design that went into this, which probably contributes to that, because from the onset of KPPO's recommendation to do this project, we very much wanted all of the learning to be relevant and to increase speed of competence. So whilst they were in the workplace, the way the project was structured is they were learning in the workplace, they were in the workplace, they were practicing in the workplace. So we could immediately see the relevance, they could immediately see the relevance of the skills. So that worked really well for us. So those are some great stats. I'm just wanting to give you some idea of what the content was there. These are some of the core skills and behavioral changes we worked on, and you'll see that's very much the usual skill set that we develop for work ready and high performing agents and or financial services employees. So it's all your agile, it's being able to work remotely, it's data, customer success, and we can share these with you, but a lot of these are critical skills, and all of these were enabled and covered in the process. I just want you to go back quickly because I think it's important to just explain in terms of our theory of change, how all of this has come together. So the key drivers for success, or key drivers for the project was we had to innovate the solution here, and we needed to meet an immediate skills and employment opportunity demand. Because these are all the things that informed the way we designed the project, and had a 6-month work integrated and learning project that was linked to industry, accredited, and compliance led. So the desire to be agile, we wanted to leapfrog traditional priority skills methodologies, which we were very fortunate that the bank seater was open to doing with us, because we needed to keep pace with the demand. We needed the recognition of shared best practice and collaboration, an understanding of the sector. There's a depth of understanding held within the KPPO network of the sector and the cross-sector transferable skills that were needed. There needed to be a co-creation of the solution with all of these very complex sets of stakeholders. We worked with the sector, we worked with employers, we worked with seaters, we worked with learning partners like yourselves, who enabled this to be a success. And we leveraged ROI for employers so that we could host and support work integrated learning. So in other words, we had to show from the very beginning, from presenting this to implementing it, that there was going to be a demonstratable ROI from this project. And the platform or the Percipio ability to benchmark skills, as well as all of the integrated input from the other vendors like AAA, BPO Skills, and Wellfox Color Counting, enabled us to do that. So just a quick thing that I think were critical success factors, and then I'll breathe and...
Jude, sorry, just before you go to critical success, I just want to ask a question around the CETA. Because it's key. The CETA, was there a funding window? Was it a special funding thing from the CETA? Did you approach the CETA with a use case? Because there's a lot of money to be spent with the CETAs and in programs like this, and I think sometimes we're not sure how to tap into it. What kind of advice could you give someone, how to approach the CETA?
So I think
on the spot.
No, not at all. So KPPO has an extensive network with a focus on skills development, and have been working very extensively in that space for some time. So those linkages to CETAs and or any other funders for strategic priority skills are there. So the approach on a special projects basis to present this as an opportunity was taken.
Okay.
I'm happy for the team on the call to contribute if there's anything else you'd like to add. Okay.
I think so. I mean, when you mention CETA, people think, oh gosh, it's going to be such a mission to get funding and feedback and all of those kind of things and whatever. But you guys, you use it in the flow that seems like it was easy enough to engage with the CETA. Michael, your hands up.
Yeah, maybe I should jump in there. I think bank CETA, I must quickly say, yes, you're absolutely right. Of course, CETAs are a different animal, but bank CETA in particular is a very good CETA. It is very strong. It was great partners in this instance. In essence, it's not easy. And like Judy said, this is a combination of a month's worth of work and design. So it is that I think attracted the CETA to see the gap in the industry, to see the power of the program, and I think they liked the collaboration as well. The fact that it wouldn't be just one enterprise trying to fulfill this quite broad set of needs. So that's really the deal with the CETA, and they continue to support very well in this program beyond simply the funding amount.
No, that's brilliant. Thanks, Michael. Thanks for that.
Cool.
Thank you. I'm just going to pull out a few of these because I think everyone's been able to have a look at them. But a critical one here is around value generating partnerships, like the one we had with our learning partners. Michael will remember that in the first few weeks, it was like, Michael, how are we going to do this? There's only 3 of us, and there's like 500 of them, and there's like 9 employees, and this is impossible. And just the flexibility with all of our learning partners. You know, the team from LRMG, they had to do 9 onboardings, not 1. They had to be flexible around at what point in the learning journey they were gearing for, and similar with the other providers in terms of where they fitted. So that was really critical to success, because it was as a movable target as we're training tomorrow in this employer and next week in that. So it was great. A strong implementation project team, and we do see all of our learning partners as an extension of our own project implementation team, because we would not have been able to do it without them. And then, of course, the strong stakeholder relationships. The benchmarking of skills was really a big enabler for us. It was critical, the ability to have those dashboards and that analytical capability. And then, of course, just the access to the dashboard.
The benchmarking stuff.
Yeah, let's get there quickly.
Why don't you go there? Because this is, as much as what the stats are fabulous, this is amazing.
There we go. Michael, do you want
to? And if I was
the
employer, I would want to. I'd go, okay, show me this now. I'd start here and go, all right, show me what we're doing, how we're closing this gap.
Yeah,
So
and
for employment promise.
100%. Linda, what's if I've put money in here, what's my return, and how can you actually show me that progress tangibly? So I love this slide. You know, if we look at the BPO Skills Academy learners, just you know, of the 350 odd, you know, over 1,400 skills benchmarks completed. What we're going to be challenging the BPO Skills Academy team is that, you know, 2-3 months down the line, we're certainly going to be inviting you back. What you'll see at the bottom over there in that first table on the left is there's actually 5, you could say, levels of rating. So, you know, once you've completed a skills benchmark, it's a low stakes diagnostic assessment. You know, in 10 minutes, you're completing questions around a specific topic, and then it'll rate you with a score, and it'll say you're either a novice, you're aspiring, you're developing, you're proficient, and you're advanced. So you can see over here, all the light blue over there is aspiring, all the yellow is developing. Can you imagine if the BPO Skills Academy team could go back to their stakeholders 2 months from now and just show that shift of how learners have shifted from aspiring to developing to now becoming proficient in that skill. And once again, there's over 600 domains. You know, the other tables over there just show, you know, what are the top skill benchmarks, their leaderboards, and there's actually a progression line that you can see over periods of months to say, over a specific month, you know, what was the activity, and go and zone into that. So once again, from a behavioral change perspective, we're saying that individuals didn't have a skill or had interest in either upskilling, reskilling, and multi-skilling in a specific area, and here was a platform that allowed them to do that. Linda, I think from a data perspective, that's about a wrap.
Yeah.
I know we wanted to invite a couple of voices and perhaps just hear from our audience on some questions.
Some comments, comments, questions from the chat. Sorry, Mike, we're talking over each other. I think maybe if I'm just looking at this slide, I'm looking at it as a ex-head of learning. You know, this is a fabulous baseline, and you'd probably look at it from that perspective as well, saying, okay, how do I move the teals to the yellows to the greens? But when you move with programs like this, and you can get your funding sorted out, you've got a benchmark for the next year, and you've also got a benchmark of how long it takes. So something that really struck me is we start with learning and we end with employment. And the big pitch here is, a slide like this says we've started with this learning, and we know that in 6, 8, 9, 12, 24 months' time, this person is going to be employable. And by the way, this is how much it's cost us to do that. The power of that data is immense, you know, and I think that's one of these sort of subliminal storylines in this wonderful case study. You know, that we do need to get you back in probably 4 or 5 months' time to see, you know, maybe bring some learners on and see how they felt about it as well. I mean, it'd be interesting to see their feedback, Net Promoter Score aside, you know. But it's fabulous. It's fabulous. Yeah, anyway, you know me, this is a little wheelhouse thing. Any other comments, questions? I see someone's put his camera on. I'm not sure who that is. Go for it if you've got a question.
It's Michael Mann again. I thought if I want to speak for the third
Michael
time,
Mann again.
I better put the camera on then, indeed.
Yeah.
You definitely can do that. The part of the agreement with the participants in this program is that 6 months after the program ends, that they have continued with those individuals in an employment status. So definitely we want to go back and see that aspect. I thought I'd throw one more aspect that we maybe haven't touched on fully, which is the organizations themselves are often new to these roles or these campaigns that they are running. So the financial aspects of a contact center or services that might be being provided isn't maybe as practiced as it may seem. I think that a lot of the organizations we're working with themselves have learning requirements, their own supervisors, their own managers and so forth. So I think one of the learnings and one of the things I'd like to throw back to LRMG is looking for ways to bring those participants in the program in. We obviously look at a number of heads and licenses for individuals to go into the system, the learners themselves, but their supervisors, their managers, individuals around them have a great deal to gain from not only the additional learning they can go into, but being almost part of this journey and seeing, and I say that it sounds fantastic, it sounds very idealistic. I think a person like Jackie, who manages these programs, knows it's incredibly difficult to get participation from supervisors and managers surrounding the students themselves. But I think if the opportunity is there, we might be surprised by people's desire to get involved and to take part. And I think having that additional learning journeys alongside the mandated parts might be a key to bringing those guys on board. But yeah, that's
nice, lovely challenge, Michael. Lovely challenge, and it's certainly something to take into consideration. You know, and it's about starting a movement, and I think that's what you've done. You know, there's that amazing video of a guy, he's drunk as anything at some concert. I don't know if you've seen it. Google start a movement, and eventually he's only out dancing, and he's madly dancing and whatever. Next minute, he's got the whole crowd following his crazy dance, and it's about starting that movement. And maybe you guys are starting the movement, and to Michael's point, you know, bring more people on board. So yeah, Judy, always a pleasure. Thank you to the cohorts. Michael, thank you for your contribution. Damien, we didn't see you, but it was nice to see you in the passages of the chat. And Michael, good job. Michael will be back, you know. Nadine, thanks for setting this up. We definitely have more collabs loading. I see Letitia from Sassel was on the call. Letitia, we're coming for you, hey? And yeah, folks, have a fabulous evening further. I don't know if you want to close out with anything. I see you on the call, Nadine, Mark. Otherwise, 3 minutes of happy time.
Thanks to the whole team, Linz. Well done for setting it up. Thanks, Judy and the BPO team, for sharing the story. We're very happy when we make an impact, and that's what we want to continue doing.
And if I may just make one last statement, because they are the kind of star of the show. Just a big thanks to the KPPO team whose vision this was, and together with BPO Skills Academy who made it a reality. Well done to them, and thank you for the opportunity for us to share our learning with you guys.